Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second race of tonight. We have Raine versus shookieTea. Both very good runners. Looks like we'll be getting started shortly. So I hope everyone is having a good evening. Hope everyone was able to catch that previous race. It was pretty good. If not, well, we have something to do after this. Looks like we're going to get started here shortly. We have Raine as the number 9 seed and shookieTea as the 25th seed, but as with all things Earthbound, anything can happen. So here's hoping for a fun race. Yes, good luck, Ukoid. You're all alone in chat. So as we get started here, Boogey Percent is a partial any percent speedrun of the Earthbound video game. Players will go as fast as they can up until they've defeated the Boogey Tent and claim its prize, the jar of fly honey. That is where time ends. Typically, you'll see, depending on skill level, you'll see somewhere between I think the best time is around like an hour 1, hour 2 to typically around an hour 20, sometimes later if RNG is really bad. But you can expect a little over an hour of Earthbound goodness. We have our runners here going for the Cracked Bat. This is a mandatory pickup. You must grab and equip this item before you are allowed to progress in the game after a certain point. One of the fun things at the start of the game is trying to dodge your mom. Fortunately, NPCs have largely random movements, so they can sometimes get in the way. So while we're doing this hill climb, there's not going to be any enemies, but it serves as a good scouting mission for what to expect, as you have to come back up here with spawns, so you kind of already know the way. You can see the various trees and such you can use to block spawns, hopefully. There is a present there on that hill. We will not grab it yet. It contains a healing item. However, one of the enemies we can run into on the hill climb is a crow, and the crow can steal your food, and we don't want that to happen. The bread roll is a pretty good healing item, and it's something we want to use for later. Game audio seems to be stuck on the naming screen. Must not have my volume up high enough to hear it. So for the hill climb portion, there will be 3 enemies. One I've already discussed, a crow. It's very speedy, very evasive. It can be difficult to hit it. One of them is the snake. It is, well, I'm colorblind, so don't ask me what color it is, but it blends into the background, so if you're distracted by other enemies, you can get blindsided by it sometimes. You can also do a technique called stutter stepping to get around encountering the enemy, which is one of the skills utilized throughout the race to avoid some enemy encounters. Enemies have different movement patterns, and some of them only move when you move, but it only checks on certain frames, so if you can press the movement button at a certain frequency, you can dodge the enemy. The third enemy is the runaway dog. It will beeline right toward nests. It's faster than nests, so you can't outrun it. Also gives the most EXP at 4, which will be a level up to level 2 if the runners do happen to fight it. But here's hoping that we don't. We see here the first snake. There's also a snake outside for shookieTea. Also has to dodge a dog. Barely manages to do so. Yep, this dog over here on Raine's side is one of the, in my opinion, one of the more annoying spawns to try and get around. At least dog-wise. Unfortunately, shookieTea is here and as a pincer has to take a choice between trying to stutter back around the snake, decides to go fight the dog. And as his current equipment and level, the enemies here can be somewhat dangerous. You can't take KOs here, especially if you fight multiples of them. The game intends for you to take your pet dog with you, who provides additional offensive firepower at this point in the game, but we don't do that as it is slow. The crows here have a swooping pattern, so they can get stuck on the scenery fairly easily. We have a nice dog dodge here from shookieTea. Very good job. And we see Raine having fun with the second controller. By doing some inputs on the second controller, you can have various things happen in the game. You can actually play this technically two-player, but one of the things that can happen is you can flip that light from the meteor back and forth. I think it's the select button. Maybe it might be the start button. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure someone in the chat will correct me. Right now on his way to the first quote-unquote boss fight. Boss fight is on rails. There's effectively no way to lose at this level. And while you can't lose the fight, you can lose a lot of time depending on what the enemy does and what your ally Buzz decides to do. Buzz can do weaker strong hits. The enemy can also guard to lower the damage Buzz does. And every other turn, Buzz will waste your time by putting up a psychic shield, which is necessary to survive, but it's a lot of text. So Starman Jr. here can do 4 things. He can do Alpha Fire, Beta Fire, Alpha Freeze, or Guard. Guard is the quickest, the Fires are the slowest. I don't know if there's a difference between Fire Alpha or Fire Beta in terms of the wind-up time here. But most of the time you'll see Fires. They'll attempt to hit everyone in the party, which is why it's so slow. Freeze only hits one character, so it's faster. And Guard is just a bit of text, so that's the quickest. So we'll see what happens. If you have particularly bad RNG, you can be in this fight for a while. We saw last race, we were able to see a lead switch in this fight, simply because one runner took much longer to get out of the fight than the other. Raine seems to be on a much slower... Man, only 20. Was that a 27 hit? Yeah, Guard and a regular hit? Dang. Yeah. Raine having some bad luck with damage numbers from Buzz here. Buzz is also the only one who can really do damage to Starman Jr. at this fight. But Starman Jr. goes down first for Raine, and not far behind shookieTea. So if you take even one fight, even one EXP from the snake, will actually get you up to level 3, which gives you a small advantage going into the next couple of fights. Getting a 1 damage kill is certainly possible. I've seen it before. It's always fun when something like that happens. So at this point in the game, we'll lose our good bug bee dung beetle friend Buzz Buzz. Which is probably a good thing because he would simply use PSI Shield in every fight. Not particularly relevant for quite a while. But one thing to keep in mind is Buzz Buzz will ask you if you're listening, and then he'll ask you if you want to hear the whole story again, so make sure you're not pressing the confirm button on the second yes/no selection. Otherwise, you get a whole nother round of hearing what you gotta do. To the owl school of delivering dialogue. Alright, here we are at 10 minutes, finally heading down to South Onet. There's a couple of spawn plates on the way, so... Yep, like that dog there. Ooh, barely gets that dog hung up on that cliff there. Very good. Very good work from Raine. Alright, you saying Picky can lockpick? I don't know. Just because his name is Picky doesn't mean he can pick locks, but maybe. So over on Raine's side, we saw that we got a Mr. Baseball Cap and equipped it. There we go, we equipped it. The whole reason we take the time to equip it is that it's actually faster to equip and then sell it by buying a regular baseball cap. And the reason we sell the Mr. Baseball Cap, it is $99 when you sell it, which means you can also buy a cheap bracelet, which is, ironically, the most expensive thing here at the drugstore. And both the baseball cap and the cheap bracelets provide much more defense than just a regular Mr. Baseball Cap. Actually, the Mr. Baseball Cap's only one defense better than the regular cap. So you're basically an insignificant defense change between the caps. That is true. The only bracelet they sell, so it is therefore the cheapest one. It is also simultaneously the most expensive one. A paradoxical existence for a bracelet. Raine through the first fight. These fights aren't typically dangerous, but if Ness misses a lot, you can end up in a bad spot. These Pokepunk can do three things. They can fall off and waste their turn, they can do a regular attack, or they can do a strong hit there. If you miss a lot and get a lot of strong hits, you can get KO'd. It's happened before. But the reason you take these fights is one, for experience, and two, because they give you free food. And we're all about them free burgers. We just took one from a trash can after all. I don't know if Greasy Arcade burgers are any better than a trash burger. Here we see the bread roll being used. It's a good top off before going into the Frank fight. Frank being the first actual boss. It's a very dangerous boss. You need to heal after every hit Frank does to you because, as you see, he does about half your HP. Just about. A strong hit. You want to see him talk nasty to us. It lowers our guts, which doesn't really matter, but he's not hitting us. And that's the important part. And we see Raine making it through the fight, no issues. Depending on what happens, you can get some bled of healing items pretty quick. The nice thing is, after the Frank fight, you get a level up, and you also get enough PP to round up to 5, which means you get another life up out of it. And unfortunately, shookieTea gets KO'd. Was not able to mash out the heal. I did not see how much HP they had at the time. But as I was mentioning, Frank can be very dangerous because just half your HP, and while the rolling HP meter does help quite a bit, once you get down to 22 or below, it becomes very difficult to mash out a heal. I'd say 22 is probably... I know I've seen people mash out a 21 but sometimes it just ends up being a coin flip. Oh, there's a snake right outside the door. So Raine is on their way to Giant Step, and we'll be doing the slug grind. Whoa. Not quite shookieTea. Yep, that is the danger of the Frank fight, and why you always want to heal even after a small hit. Since even if a small hit only does 10, you only have 40 HP, so a strong hit will bring you down into KO range. Man, shookieTea is just getting all the spawns here. Thankfully, that crow circled around and got stuck on that tree. Lots of dogs on guarding the way down. So Raine will be buying a bunch of burgers and then heading up to Giant Step to start grinding to level 8 to learn PSI Rockin' Alpha. This is a necessary step unless you have some sort of routes to get all the way up to Ant Fight and do it at a much lower level. But for all intents and purposes, for an RTA race type setting, we're not going to be doing anything like that. And we get a smash to finish Frank off. Always nice to see a smash. Even if you do everything correctly, if Ness decides he wants to miss a lot, Frank can just be a terrible fight regardless. Frankenstein typically is much safer. It only attacks every other turn. It can do either weak or strong hits. But if you don't have any heals after Frank, then you're just kind of at the at the mercy of what you get. Oh, we got 2 mice right off the bat. Don't want to fight those guys. So typically, runners will go to the kind of third section here, where that rock is. Wow, that no spawns at all that time. They'll walk back and forth across this rock to try and spawn enemies over there on the left. We're looking for slugs. They come in packs of 4, typically. Up at the top of this room, they can spawn in packs of 6. But it is also much more dangerous to do that, as there are stronger enemies up top that also have the same sprite as the slug. Over here with our first 4-pack, we want to get 22 slug KOs, and that'll get us right at level 8. shookieTea, having finished the Frank fights, is now going to do much the same thing that Raine did. Grab the key, load up on burgers, grind the slugs. These slugs, they are somewhat interesting in that they can use PSI, but they start off unable to concentrate and cannot use PSI attacks. After a couple rounds, they'll be able to concentrate again, meaning they can hit you with hypnosis. Typically this doesn't happen, but Ness sometimes just decides to miss a lot, and in that case you can end up wasting more time. Typically, since they only do 4 HP damage, the slugs themselves are not liable to KO you, but if you're low on HP and not healing, then you can end up in a sticky situation. So far, no issues with the slug grind on Raine's side. Another thing racers will do, which Raine hasn't done largely because one hasn't shown up yet, is they'll try to get a mouse stuck up on the wall on the left side. What that does is keeps additional mice from spawning in, so you get more slugs when enemies do spawn. That mouse that's right there on Raine's side, that might be close enough that it's not, that it is acting as a blocker for additional mice. It seems a little too far for me, but everything seems to be working pretty well, so... Raine now heading up top. Oh. shookieTea, unfortunately, unable to get around the mouse. Takes a red. The mice are somewhat interesting, and they have low offense. They'll only do one, but they have a lot of guts, and so they will smash very often for about as much as a normal hits, around 12. Oh, 2 mice there, unfortunately. Slugs can also spawn all along the bottom floor here, but we typically use this kind of area right after the cave to do it, because just kind of the rock is a convenient visual indicator of where to go back and forth to spawn the slugs. Raine taking the 6-pack here. He will have enough EXP after this fight to reach level 8, get rockin', and then we'll proceed to try and fight the big ant himself. Oh, and a convenient butterfly on the way out. So every sanctuary has an area that about halfway through where butterflies spawn at a high frequency. Giant Steps is right there, out when you go into the outside area. But thanks to the lucky butterfly spawn right out the door, we didn't need to take it. That butterfly is not a guaranteed spawn, but since you're almost guaranteed to use some PP, if it's not for using Rockin' on the way up, is you accidentally got in an ant fight, or you probably healed once or twice, possibly. But here we have the Titanic ant fight. The reason we want Rockin' is that it hits every enemy on the field, and those antoids in the back, they will only use Life Up Alpha. They're a special black antoid that only know the healing move. So the Titanic ant here has a couple of different things. As we've seen, you can use magnets to drain your PP. You can use defense and to lower your defense, which largely is unimpactful. He has a strong and a weak hit. Most dangerously, the ants can smash you. Another thing the ant can do is you can also use a Shield of Light, which reduces physical damage taken by half. And yes, if you get very bad luck, you can get your PP drained right before you get off a heal or a rocket and get denied. You see here, Raine running low on burgers. It's also low on PP. But I don't think there's much HP left. Shield of my lights, lowering damage, but oh, I thought that would do it. For 1 HP damage, got 2 burgers. Living on the edge. Man, that 23 is still not enough. Oh, we got the outspeed heal. All we can do is auto fight. Just missed. Ant trying to throw the fight. Well, so is Ness, but we got through the ant fight. Well, there's a gauntlet coming up against some police officers. I imagine Raine will take the time to get more burgers before going into the cop gauntlet once she gets down from this dungeon. shookieTea continuing the slug grind. Wait, did Raine? I think Raine still has the burger present here, so that's one burger he will not have to buy. Cops can also drop burgers. I think it's a 1 in 8 chance. It's not reliable, but be a nice surprise. Oh. The mice are closing in on shookieTea, but shookieTea gets around the mice. One thing to mention is that this is the bracket stages of the tournament. The winner will go on to round 2, while the person who does not win will unfortunately be eliminated from the tournament. This changes strats somewhat in that if you're in the lead, you can take safer strats, which take more time. Also, if you know you're close to your opponent, you may decide to take riskier strats to try and gain an edge. Because it's less about getting a good average time for a good seed, but simply coming in first is what matters. So we'll see how that affects the strats our runners decide to do. We see here shookieTea instant winning against a black antoid. If you have 24 or greater offense, you can instant win against single antoids. But shookieTea stutters around the last 2 ants and makes it up to the big ant itself. Raine starting the cop gauntlets. So let's see how shookieTea does with the Titanic ants. So PSI Rocking does have a miss chance. These enemies are very slow, so it doesn't happen very often, but not impossible. And luckily, shookieTea had a heal queued up on the same turn they got crit, so they managed to survive. Still, that's quite a few burgers used right here at the start, but it's not a KO. Got 5 PP left, gonna try and life up. Titanic Ant throwing up more shields. Raine making it through the first cop. Unfortunately, having like 6 hits of the shield to go through is a bit painful. The cops themselves, they always attack. They have a weak attack and a strong attack. So no, we can't really bank on wasted turns here. And Titanic Ant goes down for shookieTea. I think they managed to save a couple of burgers, so if they do buy more burgers, they won't need to buy as many. Right now on the next cop fight. Most runners will try and save 2 Rockins to use against Captain Strong. Captain Strong only has, I think, 140 HP? So it's fairly reliable to take him down with 2 Rockins. Actually, instead of guessing it, I can just use... Ah, it is 140. Oh, I didn't know the Captain Strong could drop an egg. Yeah, it seems pretty low because 2 Rockins, not always, but does seem to KO him fairly frequently. But of course, Rockin can also roll like 45, so... And Rockin can also miss. We've seen that plenty of times in this tournament already. And misses the submission hold. Got a 54. We get about a 90 or 100, we're good here, but it did not work. I may have spoke that into existence. I apologize. The submission hold is the dangerous attack here. You can see it does a lot of damage. Captain Strong can also increase his attack. I don't think it's It's only by one each, so it's not a particularly significant bonus, but it's very nice to waste time. But in either case, Raine made it through. Sub 30 Onet, very good. Love to see that. shookieTea heading right for the Cop Gauntlet. Must be confident in the amount of burgers they were able to keep after ants. Or perhaps they are foregoing buying burgers so they can try and catch up to Raine. Yeah, that Strong was swinging pretty hard there. Strong can also guard as well as raise his offense. Those are typically what you like to see because they're just not hitting you. But if he goes on the offense, especially with the submission holds, that's a lot of damage coming out, and burgers can only go so far. You only have so many of them. shookieTea with the life up. So we're going to head into the department store here. One, to withdraw money. We need $200 for Apple Kid. We ideally want enough. Probably around $5.90 or so. Specifically for the Death Warp we are planning for in the near future. Which is why we're also going to talk to our dad here and save. There's an alternative strategy where you save at the bus stop, but that's much harder to do. Or I should say it's much riskier to do, and not necessarily harder. So we'll talk about the Death Warp strategies at a later time. For now, we're going to head to Apple Kid and give him a burger and $200. And we have a nice butterfly here after Captain Strong. Typically you have 0 PP because you've used all of it either healing or using Rockin' on Strong. So having this butterfly here really helps out if you end up in a fight. Later on you can throw out Rockins, you can heal yourself up. Oh, our last burger here. Unfortunately, we got the outspeed heal, not ideal. shookieTea in a somewhat dangerous position here. Captain Strong submission holds to deal a lot of damage. That's not absolutely not a safe number. Ideally, you want to be more like 60 plus, I think. So we'll see what happens here. Are we going to go for it? No, we're going for a life up. Captain Strong loses his temper. You only have one rock in here. Let's hope it's a good one. 71, pretty good. About half his HP there. Actually, I think now all you have to do is auto fights. One more hit, I think we'll do it. And we do it. shookieTea escapes Onet before the 33-minute mark. So about 3 minutes behind Raine, give or take, rounding. So here we are in Peaceful Rest Valley. Very scenic area. With verbally dramatic music. Here we have evil plants as well as UFOs. We absolutely do not want to fight the UFOs. They are the worst enemy here. Very fast, they deal good damage. They don't have a lot of HP, but it's easy to miss them with both Rockin' as well as your melee attack. Since they're fast, they're also hard to run away from. Can also give you cold, which is like a very minor poison effect. So we go all the way up to look at a pencil statue, and then we head back to Tucson to then go talk to our good friend Apple Kid, who happens to have a pencil eraser, just to go all the way back to PRV and continue to make progress. shookieTea now in Tucson and going to do their Tucson stuff. No stealth hippies for Raine just yet. With $630, shookieTea should be in a good position to not have to use the ATM again. And much of the time our runners will also talk to the sandwich lady here and grab some skip sandwiches. Raine decides to forego. The skip sandwich is a safety item. It allows Ness to increase his overworld movement. Very useful for escaping encounters. It's very easy to get pincered in PRV. Yeah, very narrow areas with lots of spawn plates. You can very easily get pincered. The enemies are also quite fast, typically. Notice the UFOs, they swing around a lot, and their odd movement pattern can allow them to slip into areas you may think you're safe in. So we'll see how PRV treats our runner, shookieTea, with PRV 1, Raine, and PRV 2. Nope. And we have a UFO. Oh, nope. That's like I was saying, the UFOs are pretty crazy. They can get around stuff pretty easily. If this hits, it's, nope, 52, not quite enough. I think they have around... Little UFO. Actually, I don't know if the bot can do your little UFO. I don't know if it recognizes apostrophes, but it has around, I think, 65, 70 HP. You can take it out with a rocket fairly widely, assuming you hit. No! That was pretty risky. Unfortunately, shookieTea gets caught by the UFO after getting caught up on some of the mountains there. The one saving grace with PRV is that there's a lot of high butterfly spawns in certain areas. That area past the bridge being the first one. Unfortunately, shookieTea takes a KO. We'll have to go back as they were unable to reach the pencil statue. If you get KO'd after looking at the pencil statue, but before getting that call from Apple Kid, all you have to do is enter and exit that first cave, and you'll get the phone call to go back to Apple Kid. After that surprise UFO fight, Raine doing fairly well through this section of PRV. Hasn't seen a single other enemy. At least not one in the way. We have Snake Cave. Snakes may get in your way to teach you about incident winning. Raine now heading to the cabin where Paula is being held. After doing a shopping run, we'll want to buy a bat here as well as a nice new hat. This will give us enough defense to really help us out against the coming fights. So, having forego the skip sandwiches, Raine does have enough money after the intended death warp to revive Paula. I'm assuming that's why Raine forewent the skip sandwich. Recognize that he did not have enough money and decided to risk not having a sandwich. shookieTea now heading back to get the pencil statue eraser. Alright. Next up for Raine is the shack fight. We're up against two cultists and a crow. The cultists are very famous for calling for help. Depending on how things go, you can end up with a lot of additional enemies to face. You can't run from them either, so if you end up in a random encounter with them, or otherwise in a bad spot, you're kind of stuck. Have to bash it out. Ooh, we got it. Did not work on one of the... Yep, that's cool to see. Missing one of the cultists is pretty bad, but with enough high roll... That's not a high roll, that's a high roll. And the cultists have around 90-ish HP? I think. So a good rock and roll will take him out. We still got one up, and we have no PP. That's enough, though. 16 HP and a prayer. Even with so Raine has a decision to make here with 0 PP. They do have one more mandatory fight with a cultist. If things get out of hand, Raine will not have a good way to get through the fight. One thing he can do is there is a hotel here. It is fairly slow, but without any, there's no high spawn rates for butterflies in the village here. So they could go take the hotel, heal up fully, or they can risk it. Thankfully, that cultist does not see them. Raine is taking the heal. There's a cultist hanging out with the cow there, going to despawn. Well, gonna try and despawn them. Remember to say do your blue chant for good luck. shookieTea getting a nice butterfly here in the cave. Raine, unfortunately, will have to take the time to go to the ATM to get more money to revive Paula, so hopefully he remembers that. Yes, you can pay whatever you want at the self-serve stand. Paying anything above $0 is, in fact, an accident. And I haven't seen that show in forever. I should go back and take a look at it. It's one banana. How much could it cost? Oh, and unfortunately, shookieTea not fast enough to get past the spinning robo. The spinning robo is much less dangerous than the UFO, as you do a whole bunch of other stuff, but mostly it's a lot slower, a lot easier to run from it. Raine now going to the Card Painter fight. Card Painter has basically a 3-turn attack cycle. First turn, we'll do Thunder here. Ideally, we want to see these reflected, but it's only 25% chance to even hit one person on the field. The second turn will either be a heal. It's always a heal the first time around. The second time around will be a PSI shield. And the third turn will always be a physical attack, doing somewhere between, I think, 40 to 50-ish. Unfortunately, getting bad luck on the Thunder Reflex here, but Rockin' was enough damage to take out Card Painter. Raine has a fairly high HP amount. Not ideal for doing the Death Warp, but managed to get through the fight fairly safely, so all you can ask for, really. We will hope for a rough plain mole and not a nice plain mole. shookieTea now going to get their equipment and go to the get on with the shack fight. Hopefully the shack fight goes better for them. We got a lot of crows hanging around Paula. Oh, that one was fast. Man, a bunch of crows are all over the play, all over Paula today. Raine and shookieTea in the same spot, just with different story flags set. Raine will now start on the Death Warp. First, throw out the teddy bear, throw out all Nessa's defensive equipment, and then they'll head into Lilliput Steps and fight a mole. There are other ways to do this. One way is to grab the cup of life noodles in PRV. If you save at the bus station, that's technically quicker because all of the story flags you need to hit to progress start at the lower end and go on up. You see Raine here actually heading out to PRV to do the Death Warp instead of the mole. I'm personally a mole guy myself. I'll usually always go for the mole, but if you happen to get a good encounter here, then oh no, Raine's going for the cup of life noodles actually. Okay. Unfortunately, it takes a fight before getting the noodles themselves, but it's just one sprout. Although it's somewhat unfortunate because I think if they KO the sprout, then I think it'll be enough to level Paula a bit. Not sure if that's going to be intentional, maybe trying to get PSI Fire on Paula, or maybe otherwise reduce the amount of levels she gets from Boogey Tents later on. With a couple of life noodles, you don't have to go to the hospital, so you can... unfortunately, only one UFO there. Oh, he got saved. Paula's down with 1 HP and a dream. Ness sneezes and has to go to the hospital. Hate it when that happens. Alright, so I'm going to use a couple life noodles instead of heading up to the hospital like normally would do in the situation. We're instead going to head down to the preschool, where we'll talk with Paula's dad, then we'll go to Berglund Park, and then head back up to the theater. But first we're going to grab the backstage pass. You can get the backstage pass at any time, but you do have to grab it at some point. However, you do have to see Paula's dad before you can go get the $10,000 from Everdred. Yeah, shookieTea and the car painter fights. Fortunately, he did not hit anyone, is out of PP. Car painter on the shield. Fortunately, is at a good HP value, so can just bash it out. 27 HP is pretty good for the Death Warp. Hopefully does not get a large HP level. Nope. Oh, got 2 levels though. But either of them had huge HP, so that's good. Nope. Please, NPC. You got places to be. So Everdred here is a boss fight that is technically optional. Since if you have Paula and I don't know if he'll fight you if you go try and talk to him before you talk to Paula's dad. I'm not entirely sure if he'll fight you or not, or maybe he'll just say you should go see Paula's dad first and then go inside his house. But in either case, we don't have to do that with our fight, so we don't, because fighting is slow. Yeah, left side of the theater, there is a photo trigger right in front of the theater, but if you hug the wall close enough, you don't have to get your picture taken. And boy howdy, do pictures take a while. As we saw earlier, unfortunately on Shookie's side, the birds blocking shookieTea from getting in the cabin. So we have here a cutscene on Raine's side. We get some sweet jams. A nice break for our runners as well as our watchers, so be sure to stretch, hydrate, maybe have a light snack if you're feeling hungry. Somewhat uncommonly, the mole doesn't always spawn up there at the top, but frequently it does. So this is the more typical death warp. The unfortunate thing is that the mole playing rough can waste a lot of time by confusing himself or missing. Or hitting himself in confusion. Thankfully, Ness is at a low enough HP that once the mole does decide to hit Ness, it should be over in one hit unless Ness decides to gut save. And there we are. So not a bad death warp. shookieTea will now do their Tucson errands. Hopefully they will remember to grab money out of the ATM. Yep. Good thing you checked. I'd definitely fallen prey to that a couple times where I just forget to have enough money on hand to revive Paula. We have another cutscene on Raine's side where we'll drive to Threed and hear the awesome music again. So once we get to Threed, we'll be sightseeing in a graveyard. We'll be looking at observing some zombies and then heading to a 5-star hotel to loosen up, get a nice massage, and take a nap. I mean, it's been a long day. You know, we've done a lot. Shoulders are getting a little stiff. The graveyard has a couple of dangerous enemies. The most dangerous is likely the ghost. It can possess you, and when you're possessed, a tiny little ghost flies around you and can freeze you and deal 1 damage to you. I think it might do more if you have really, really low defense, but typically it only does 1. There's a couple of trash can enemies. They're annoying. The flies are... They only have like 100 HP or so, maybe 90, but they're more annoying than anything. But looks like we're having an uneventful graveyard. We had one trash can to despawn, and that was it. But now it's time to enter this not at all suspicious 5-star hotel. Yeah, you win a free massage, you know. You're expecting a nice warm welcome. Get all the kinks out of your shoulder. And now here we are in a nice sauna, you know, resting up after our very intense massage, but unfortunately, you know, the door's jammed, so we need our good friend Jeff to come by and fix the door for us so we can get out. Here starts the Jeff portion of our journey. We have a couple errands to run in the boarding school, and then we'll be on our way to grab a monkey and find the cross a lake on the back of a nice sea monster. So we'll meet up with Maxwell here. Is it Maxwell? He'll give us a nice bent key to get into the lockers and take some items. I'm sure those kids didn't really need it anyway. I mean, we're off here saving the world, or at least fixing a door. Unfortunately, key doesn't work, so we have to go back and then get the actual bad key machine. Strangely enough, the bad key machine will be used... Technically only has one mandatory use. You can technically skip all these lockers. It's not necessarily a good idea. But technically you only need the bad key machine to escape from the zombie trap, and that's the only use that it actually has in the entire game. It's kind of interesting for something that is supposed to be kind of like an omni tool to get past any locked door. Oh, really? Interesting. Honestly, I haven't tried it in so long. I do kind of half remember, like when I was a kid, just like not getting any. I mean, maybe I just got like one of the broken items in there and then left as a kid, and I didn't have any like, I didn't have the pop gun or anything. What's found is quite strange, and it's mandatory flags gotta do. Oh, here we go. We might get a green. It might get a green dog. Ah, not too bad. So with when you're not controlling nests, there is some jank going on with the enemy collision detection and what counts as a surprise attack or not. You can get some crazy green swirls. Unfortunately, we didn't get one right there. But... So we see shookieTea go down a little bit there. Oh, man, that fly came out of nowhere. I was going to say that's typically a despawn point, or I should say you can skip a spawn trigger if you do your movement right in that section. But I guess it didn't work quite right, or that fly was already previously spawned and going down, then despawn it. But in any case, it was just one fly and it goes down in one freeze. Paula gets some levels. That'll be... Oh. Unfortunately, things can spawn to your left when you try to leave. Depending on what it is, it can get in a tough spot. Then we have the majestic creature, Tessie. Thankfully, the graveyard remains uneventful for Shookie on leaving. So get your Tessie emotes out. shookieTea now starting their Jeff journey. Oh wait, that was a little preemptive, but close enough. Alright, and Raine will now be entering the Dungeon Man portion of the program. There's 3 fights, potentially, to take in here. You can technically skip every one of them. The first fight is pretty difficult to skip, the second one and third one are a little easier, depending on how things go. The protoplasm here is known as the toughest enemy in the game. It is actually a very difficult fight for Jeff. These protoplasms can call for help, so things can get out of hand really quickly. They can confuse themselves, which is fine. But when they decide to fight, they can do. I think they usually do around 10 points of damage. And as you might see, we only have like 30. If you get here level 1, you only have 30, so you'll typically only survive 3 hits. So it can be pretty dangerous. The enemy just decides to fight. The second fight here is the Mad Duck. As you see, it kind of has the just has the same kind of movement AI as the large trees in PRV. So sometimes you can slip by as it's kind of looking around, not doing much. You can also kind of lure it down more, kind of what like Raine did, but a little further south, so it can't catch you as you pass by. The easiest fight to skip is coming up here. It's the second proto skip. You just hug the top wall here, and then hope Bubble Monkey doesn't mess you up when you go down. Unfortunately, Bubble Monkey ruined everything. But the second proto fight's typically not bad because if you've taken any levels by now, you'll be doing much more damage. Also, one thing to keep in mind is butterflies are not useful for Jeff at all, so do avoid running into them if you can. Now we have the Pond Cave. We got 3 screens of various enemies, all of them except for the mushroom, which I guess there's only 2. I guess there's only the slug and the mouse I've seen before. They can be stutter-stepped. As you can see, things are quite cramped compared to... Oh, but we got the jank Raine, as I mentioned before. But if you're expert at stuttering, then you can get around the enemies, even in these tight quarters. So room 2 here, it's kind of split up into 3 sections. We have this kind of opening section where you can despawn with the door. The second section here, there is a mushroom there. The mushrooms cannot be stutter-stepped. Like all the other mushrooms, if you get close to them, they'll run after you, and they are by far the most dangerous enemy in the cave. They are very likely to KO Jeff. I don't think they have any time waster or otherwise useless things they can do. It's possible. But Monkey has other plans, but thankfully it was still a green. Yep, with Monkey there, that was pretty risky, but it works out for Raine. And here on the third screen, we really had no choice but to despawn anything in our way, and things are way too narrow to try and slip past. There's also a much higher frequency of mushrooms in this area. shookieTea now on their Tessie ride, so get out your Tessie emos, everyone. So Raine is now closing in on the... Oh, it's skipping the singular bottle rocket. If they have a PSI fire on Paula, then that's probably fine. Maybe planning on saving before taking on the Boogey tent, just due to having a fair lead on shookieTea at the moment. Yep, these cave boys, you don't want to get in a fight with them. They are actually fairly... Shoot, there's 2 versions of them, and I can't remember which one's which, but they're pretty annoying, so you don't really want to run into them. So after talking with our dad, Andrew Nuts here, we'll board our nice friendly UFO and take it to Threed, where we'll save our good friends whom we have never met. shookieTea is now starting on their dungeon tour of Lower Winters. And we'll see how the proto fight goes for Shookie. It looks like they are still at level 1, so this could be a little risky depending on how things go. Besides eat the egg. Thankfully no one came. Protoplasm is defeated. We've overcome the strongest enemy in the game. We'll see how Shookie fares with the duck skip and some Proto 2 skip. Unfortunately, that duck's way too far left. You can't really... Well, I guess it moved to the right, but... So the Mad Duck does have a lot of time waster moves it can do. It can make you not concentrate, you can lose your PP. You can also fall down. Yeah, there it goes. So it's largely safe, but the duck can crit you. And I know from experience. The duck can be dangerous when it decides to be dangerous. But no issues for shookieTea. Other than having fairly low HP, but if monkey does, the monkey messed it up. Unfortunately, no one was able to get any skips today. Or tonight, I should say. Unfortunately, just had too low HP to survive 2 hits. Thankfully, the respawn point is just kind of right outside, so it is a time where, you know, you do lose time, obviously, for dying, but it's not that bad, thankfully. Jeff doesn't have PSI, so you don't have to worry about having 0 PSI, and get a free full HP heal. But that does mean we can get another chance at Proto 2 skip, so we'll see if we can pull it off today. Monkey, please. We're trying to show off tech here. I think shookieTea did have a cookie. It might have saved them if they had consumed it before the fight, but... Raine now on the final run to the tent. We'll see if he takes a safety save, takes a safety bear. Oh, we have some enemies outside. Typically, not too bad, but wouldn't be surprised if there were some configurations where you're easily ambushed by just coming out of the grave like that. When you use a skip sandwich, I think Raine is just going for it. Makes it there, no issues. Sometimes enemies down here can spawn getting in your way. Zombie dog is a very dangerous enemy. Big bottle rocket, go! Oh, goodbye, Paula. 334, not great. Boogey 10 has 590. We did not get the backup rocket, so... Nope, we got a jank Raine on shookieTea's side, I think. Jeff going down. But without that second bottle rocket, wasn't particularly going to contribute particularly well anyway. Unfortunately, Shookie is between a... Oh, and we are stuck. Bashing it out with Boogey Tents. Probably pretty close, but we're crying. Flash A can also confuse you like that. Oh no. And Raine is taken down at the finish line. So now, backup strats. What do you do in this situation? So, as was told to me, since I'm not very familiar with what to do if you get KO'd at the Boogey Tent, what you do is you take the full heal at the hotel, revive the kids, and try again. Possibly try and get some additional bottle rockets. They're pretty cheap to buy. They're like 29 bucks or something. If you have some chickens from the fresh eggs that you may have gotten earlier in the game, then you can sell those for $110 each. But it's a pretty good chance for shookieTea to make up some time. Raine will need to take some time to prepare and re-attack. Unfortunately, shookieTea took a KO and is having to go back through the cave. We have one chicken. We have $576, so it's $100 to revive the kids. So that's $200 if you want to bring back Paula, which I don't know. You might as well, I guess. When I was in this situation, I decided not to because she was only level 1 and not particularly useful. And then it's loading up on bottle rockets. A singular bottle rocket will do either 1 or around 110 damage. Oh no, get ambushed by enemies right outside the door. Oh, this isn't good. Teddy bear, thank you. Teddy bear goes down. I don't know, Paula does have 15 PP. I'd maybe consider using freeze. Oh, manages to get away. Is Paula still alive? Yes. Yeah, if you have a lot of money, Paula can lob bombs. Bombs are pretty expensive, though. They're about a chicken's worth of cash, I think. Yeah, they're 149. So if you do happen to have a lot of money, Paula can do that. One option is she can also throw out food items if you happen to have food items. Oh, but Ness is at 0 PP, and unfortunately does not have the money to go rest at the hotel. So it seems like we're banking on Jeff. This could get dicey. We have no PSI heal. Oh, wow! Bubble Monkey got decided to get stuck there at the top. Nope. One bomb and a spy. Interesting. That was probably a mismenu. We got fire, we got rockets. So typically Ness will go before your other kids. He doesn't necessarily go before Boogey Tent, but he can be a good mule for food items in this kind of situation. Time to pray. Boogey Tent's being awful nice. Uh-oh. Oh no. Tent spray, another useless, but now Boogey Tent goes down. So GG's to Raine, that was a hard-fought battle. You can check out anytime you like, Raine, but you can never leave. I'm sorry. You don't have to come back next week. Or maybe later this week. shookieTea now on their way to 3 to take on the Big Tent himself. And there's a jar of fly honey. R takes it, and Raine finishes in first place with a racetime.gg time of 1:14:25. A woo. So congratulations to Raine for finishing. It was a roller coaster of a seed with plenty of crazy boss fights. Thankfully, very entertaining for us as viewers, and for me as a commentator. Not so much as a player. we shall see how shookieTea does here with the tent. Hopefully has better luck than Raine. Yeah, Leslie, the backup is pretty rough. If you happen to have enough of a lead, and it may not be a bad idea to try a safety save. Otherwise, yeah, it really depends on kind of how nice Tent is. I mean, if he attacks and KOs Jeff, and you have him loaded up with bottle rockets, then it's gonna be hard. But if you're relying on Jeff, one option is to give Ness a lot of healing items, and then he can throw healing items at Jeff, since he will almost always go before Jeff, I think. He may or may not go before Boogey Tent. Ideally, he goes after Boogey Tent, so whatever Boogey Tent does, he can just heal it right off Jeff. And then you just kind of throw bottle rockets until he goes down. Paula has fire. You know, that's a good 90-ish damage there. It's honestly not a bad idea to maybe pick up an extra fresh egg or two from the free stand, just to maybe have enough money, additional money in this section if things go bad. Yeah, not having the heal is it's pretty rough. So 415, that's a good amount. Between fire and oh, shookieTea also. Hopefully this is not confusing. Okay, doesn't confuse anyone. So if it does around 100, it should be a KO. Yep, there we go. Much easier time than shookieTea. But yeah, for a backup strat, ideally you do either heal or find a lucky butterfly somewhere, so Ness can throw out heals or rock-ins to supplement the damage from bottle rockets and or PSA fire, if you happen to have that. So GG's to shookieTea, who in a couple of seconds here will pick up their jar of fly honey and complete the Boogey percent. And shookieTea finishes with a time of 1 hour, 18 minutes, 22 seconds. A woo. So congratulations to both of our runners. It was a very exciting race to watch. Lots of fun all around. So we're relating Lantro, so I'll sign off here. Good night, everyone, and we'll see you later for additional Spooky Tent, Boogey percent Earthbound races. And good night.
Love the wave bird, dude.